there, it's Christy with the Chirp YouTube channel. Today I'm here for another installment in my little series on helping kids learn to talk. And today it's a very simple thing to think about, but one that far too often we miss out on because we just aren't thinking about it because no one brought it to our attention. So I'm going to bring it to your attention, and that is engineering the environment the child lives in or exists in at school or church or a daycare, wherever. Engineering that environment to be conducive. And what we're looking for is we're looking for things the child can't succeed at doing alone. We want to make some things difficult so that the child needs to interact with another human being and therefore communicate. Communication is more broad than just verbal talking. Communication can be visual, it can be noises, it can be eye gaze, it can be pulling someone to request help, it can be any of these things. And by engineering the environment so that certain things are out of reach or in containers the child can't open, certain activities don't happen unless the child requests them, activities the child really likes. These things, these ways of engineering the environment are very helpful in encouraging kids to want to interact more. And that desire to interact is what drives our communication development. Without that drive, we don't communicate, because why would we need to? We have everything we need in our own little bubble, and we can just enjoy our sensory experiences. We can simply exist in ourselves, within ourselves, and not pay attention to other people at all. But if someone else has something that I want, I'm going to want to interact in order to get that thing or have that experience or interact in that way that I like. One way of doing this is to make sure that favored items are out of reach. Perhaps they're in a closet that has a child lock on it, so the child cannot get in himself. Perhaps they are on a tall cabinet, which is too tall for the child to climb. These are some ideas about how to engineer the child's environment. Another way is to put smaller items into containers that the child's hand is too small to open. So the child, in this case, can actually bring you the container when she wants it open, and that in itself is a request. As you're thinking about how to engineer your child's environment, your home environment, your school environment, your church environment, to facilitate more communication, think about the ways that you want the child to communicate. If your child is not engaged at all right now with other people, then it's not going to be reasonable of you to expect your child to say, "Excuse me, Mama, can I please have the blocks?" That's a little bit too much of a jump between the level where the child currently is functioning and the level you're expecting the child to interact with you. That's not going to be very successful. We need to just do one step more. In the case of a child who's not engaged at all, maybe all you expect from that child as a request is an eye glance. That's probably a very considerable and significant step for that particular child to take. For example, there was a little guy I was working with in my classroom. He was not very engaged with other human beings. He liked to just spin around in the corners of the room, and he did some stuff with his fingers so that he could see that enjoyable sensation in his eyes. He did not interact very much with us. He did not interact with his fellow students either, except sometimes to take something away from us that he wanted. His favorite time was snack time. He really liked animal crackers, and so initially what we did was we'd hold the animal crackers at eye level, hold one animal cracker at eye level and wait. Because of course he could hear us opening the package. He could smell the animal crackers, and all he had to do was look just for a moment, a millisecond, and then he would get a cracker. Eventually, this progressed to where we had him using a communication book, and he had to hand us the one picture that was on the communication book. And then it progressed to where he had to pick pictures out of the communication book, and there were multiple pictures. Take a look at my communication book series up there, and you can get an idea of how that progression should work. We don't want to progress too quickly, but we do need to have an expectation of how our child is going to actually request. Because if I set up my environment and it's all wonderful and everything is organized so that the child has to interact with me, but I'm expecting my child to be completely verbal when right now she's not verbal, that's not going to work out very well for anyone. Everyone's going to be frustrated because the child cannot do what we're asking the child to do. Also consider simple pictures. If your child is able to look at a picture and hand it to you, then that's a good option also. If your child is verbal, I still recommend having visuals available, because especially when a kid really wants something, there's emotion involved, she can get overwhelmed to the point where words get stuck and she needs a prompt. And so having a picture of the doll that she wants near the cabinet where the doll is up on top, then when she forgets the word that she needs to use to get it, she can hand you the picture. So we also want to have support for when the child gets really worked up. With my little guy who was nonverbal and we were just working on eye gaze, the backup plan was when he would get, would really want the cracker, but he just couldn't bring himself to look at me, I would take the cracker and I would get on his level and I would look him straight in the eyes, and then I'd give him the cracker. So the backup plan in that case was me accommodating that child's needs at that time. I really wanted to give him the cracker because that's reinforcing. I really want to build a trusting relationship with him. And in order to do that, I need to meet his needs and his wants. And not all of them, of course. This is not paradise. And we need to keep our kids learning. And by challenging them, they will learn better. But we can't challenge them more than they can handle. Don't exasperate your children. With kids who are beginning to be verbal, visuals are the best way to do this. I don't want a child to become dependent on my prompt. I don't want the child to stand there and point and have to wait for me to say, "Mama, I want doll, please." I want the child to be able to self-prompt, which is one of the reasons why visuals are so important, and they are very good for this purpose. All right, there you have it, your 2 steps. Number 1, where's your child right now and what sort of requesting response can you expect reasonably? Number 2, how will you engineer your environment to make those communication efforts happen more effortlessly for you and for your child? Thanks for being here with me today. Leave questions down below, or you can email me if you want. I hope you're healthy and well, and I will see you in my next video. Have a great day. Bye.